Ladies and gentlemen, you are very welcome back to the final round of the 2017 Irish Drift Championship calendar. It is Japfest, live from Mondello Park, the biggest event of the year. And I am joined once again by a man who I thought I was getting rid of yesterday, but he drunk dialed me all last night, and he's just made his way back into my life. Ian Waddington, you're here with me for the top 32. What a display we have seen already today. We already know Jack Shanahan has taken the 2017 Pro Championship. It's all been decided. We still have a Super Series to fight for, but you know what? We were looking ahead at some of these battles in the top 32, and they are insane. Just to give you a quick run-through, Dwayne McKeever will be coming up against Conor Shanahan. Jack Shanahan will be coming up against good friend Ryan Morton. Battle of the SR20s between Mark McBurney and Pete Nielsen. Oliver Evans will be coming up against Brian Egan. Mitch Larner and Matt Carter. Martin Richards and Stephen Biaggioni. Just some of what's on offer in the top 32. I am excited already.
I mean, you couldn't ask for more of a stacked, more of a compact, unbelievable amount of battles for this top 32. I'm that excited that I kicked Dave Egan out of the tower and I said, you know what, Dave, I need the best seat in the house this afternoon for this one. So I've jumped in and look at this. The sun is shining over this Mondello circuit. Absolutely packed. The queues to get in are insane. If you're not here, the atmosphere, Eddie, is just unreal.
Yeah, I mean, if you throw back to this time yesterday, Ian, we were sitting with, the thermals on. We had our jackets on. We had our hats on. Gloves on the hands. We were freezing here. 24 hours later, sun's out, guns out, T-shirts on, packed crowds here in Mondello Park. Japfest, some incredible cars down in the show and shine. It has been one hell of a day already, and it's only just gone 2 o'clock. Yeah,
I mean, what we're expected to see this afternoon is possibly the biggest and best display of drifting that we have ever seen at the Irish Drift Championship. Like we say, drivers coming from all around the world to compete this afternoon. Jack Shanahan already taking that championship, so you know what, nothing for him to lose. But Conor Shanahan still in the fight for that Super Series. Can the Shanahans, walk away this weekend with a Super Series under their belt, a Pro-Am Championship and the IDC Pro Championship?
Certainly wouldn't rule it out.
I mean, well.
And we've spoken about so much already, and we haven't mentioned the return of James Dean. He topped qualifying with a 96. His teammate, Peter Wojciech, coming to the Irish grid this weekend as well. He wowed us, qualified in 4th position, and he looks very comfortable in that DMAC 240. And do you know what? He's definitely one to watch. I think he could be one to take down the Irish streak here this weekend. Yeah,
I mean, a lot of money, and a lot of people in the pits were putting money on Mitch Larner. Everyone's saying Mitch Larner looks so strong in practice and qualifying that he could be a guy to take down the Irish streak. But you know what? Vincek turned up this weekend, jumped in DMAX 240 and was like, hey, listen, don't count me out of the fight. I'm an FD driver, a Polish drift champion. Look at what I can do. And he put on some display of driving in qualifying. Eddie, who knows what way this is going to go this afternoon, but I know we've got a packed grid down there on the start line, and I do believe we're pretty much ready for action.
Yes, we're ready for action. Our team on track are ready for action. The drivers are ready for action. Are you guys in Mondello Park ready for action? We're going to need a little bit better than that. We have record numbers here in Mondello Park, and we aren't sending any cars until we get the loudest cheer all the way around this circuit. I said, are you guys ready for action? That's much better. Some very enthusiastic people to the left of the tower here. So our first battle will see our highest qualifier, James Dean, taking on our lowest qualifier, Sultan Al-Qasimi. What can Sultan do here? He's coming up against, regarded probably the best drifter in the world in James Dean, and really up against it here because James put in a 96 out of 100 run on his first attempt, or on his second pass of the circuit, and he is coming here to do what he normally does, which is just take names.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they call him the machine, James Dean, and he is a machine. We see him in practice, lap after lap, so super consistent. Sultan Al-Qasimi right now has got an incredible task on his hands if he wants to take down multiple European champion and, dare I say it, FD champion, Eddie? Potential FD champion right now.
Yeah, multiple European, multiple Irish champion, and certainly looking very likely to take the top step in the championship in Formula Drift. That is just comes down to numbers. We don't want to jinx anything just yet, but James certainly sitting in a very good position. But he said himself that, for a debut season, regardless of what happens from here on in, he is very, very happy with how it's gone. We are ready to go. James Dean in that Mudmat Falcon S14. Sultan Al-Qasimi in that incredible build. They throw it into the first corner. What a Sultan. God, can he put it up to James Dean here? Yes. James taking a nice wide line. Sultan with a big dive, but was very shallow to gain this proximity. But he's certainly not looking fazed by the challenge of coming up against James Dean. As they throw it onto the wall, can Sultan make a final dive through the final section? James Dean looking so comfortable. Sultan getting it all wrong in there just at the final hurdle, and a 10-0 advantage.
Yeah, I mean, Sultan Al-Qasimi, I mean, threw it in on the first corner on initiation, looking very, very strong as they come down. Nice early initiation from Dean. Look at this. Sultan on the handbrake. Starts to gain a little bit proximity through clipping point 1. Way off track on clipping point 2. Makes a dive through mobile 1, but then it starts going wrong for him. As Dean drops off of clipping point 5, Sultan straightens massively coming onto the wall, has to reinitiate, and then, you know what, Eddie, he's on the wrong line. Dean goes all the way to clipping point 8, and Sultan just, you know, avoiding contact, puts himself into a spin. So
yeah, look, it's a massive challenge for Sultan. You know, he very limited practice this morning, and he's coming up against one of the best in the world. He's only an up-and-coming driver himself. You know, coming over to Ireland to try and gain valuable experience to take back home with him, and certainly gave James a run for his money there, but a few errors creeping into the run, and that spin at the end costing him a 10-0 disadvantage. We switch them around as normal. So Sultan will now lead, and you know, James Dean, we talk about him as being one of the best in the world, but he's made a name for himself as being, if you know, definitely one of the, if not the very best chase drivers in the world. That is where he shines.
Yeah, unbelievable. This guy will stick it on the door. We see him do it in practice the other day. It was phenomenal. He now chases down Sultan Al-Qasimi for a place in the top 16.
I've seen James chase people before, and he backs off just as that person's about to spin. It's like he knows they're going to spin before they even know. That's how good this guy is. So, cone drops on entry, but it hasn't affected the run.
No, they're off the line. Sultan Al-Qasimi fires his full carbon fibre, VAS 14, S15 in. And you know what? Look at this. Dean keeping way back, almost tagging Sultan. As Sultan drops off into the gravel.
Yeah, those two guys almost coming together there, but James, you know, coming victor, and Sultan, you know, falling foul to an unforced error, just coming in too hot. A very difficult section of the track there to try to slow and scrub off all your pace to get that car around the Mobile 1 section of the circuit. And Sultan Al-Qasimi, a 10-0 disadvantage once again as James Dean takes the points, and we can confirm going through to the top 16 is James the Machine Dean. James Dean moves on to the top 16. Sultan Al-Qasimi unfortunately will bow out of competition. We move it along to our next battle, which will see our 16th and 17th place qualifiers, Dennis Murphy and Paul Mccarthy. And this one is, you know, this one not an easy one to call. Both guys qualifying similar positions, and neither one looking like their true selves this weekend. We haven't seen the best of them, so.
No, I mean, Dennis Murphy, Paul McCarthy, these guys went at it at Watergrass Hill last round for a spot on the top step. McCarthy took it. You know what, for me, Murphy looks very, very strong, like very, very strong. His car is fast. Everyone says that he's driving 100% this weekend. He has nothing to lose. He wants to be in it. But you know what, yeah. Paul McCarthy chasing down that Super Series championship for Conor Shanahan. So
yeah, and I think that's a very important factor. And you can never count out Paul McCarthy. You can never count out any of the McCarthy brothers in history. You could, you know, it would always, one of them would perform every time they came out. You'd see one of them. John, of course, not competing anymore, but he is in the audience rooting on his younger brother as we just await for the smoke to lift from the Mondello circuit. Plumes of smoke left from James and Sultan, but we do get orders from the marshal. They are go. Murphy to lead in McCarthy, who will take it through to the top 16. Big entry from McCarthy. Just about avoids making contact with the barriers. And is that an unforced error from Paul McCarthy? Certainly looked to me, Ian, as though he just came in carrying too much pace into that first corner.
Yes, and Dennis Murphy came in there, Eddie, like a bat out of hell. This guy's been very, very fast all day in practice and qualifying. And you know what, for me, Paul McCarthy just couldn't match the pace and ended up sending it off circuit.
Judges just looking to see a quick replay on that one before they make their call. They just want to ensure that Paul McCarthy wasn't impeded in any way, or there wasn't something that Dennis Murphy did to put him off his line. It certainly doesn't look that way. Yeah, the score is dropping in 10-0 disadvantage, or advantage rather, to Dennis Murphy. No need to go to the judges for that one in. Pretty clear cut, and you can just see, again, a substantial standing smoke here in Mondello. The wind speed very low in comparison to yesterday. It's practically, it's very still weather conditions here in Mondello. Perfect for drifting, not perfect for shifting the smoke.
Yeah, perfect for these guys out on circuit, but not perfect for viewing. So we wait to get those guys back to the line now. Mccarthy is sitting on a 0, Eddie. A lot of pressure. He doesn't want to drop out of this competition early. Like I say, trying to chase that Super Series Championship to win himself that Brian James trailer. But right now it looks like it's slipping out of his fingers.
Yeah, after the result last weekend in the British Drift Championship, it really seems it is as though he's chasing it. And barring a minor miracle here, it looks as though he could be bowing out of the competition earlier than he would have hoped. It is Mccarthy to lead in Dennis Murphy. Will we see them get through the first corner this time around? No problems for... Oh! Dennis Murphy making a big error there. Yeah. Losing his bumper. Yeah. Now, could this cause problems for him?
Yeah, it looks like the bumper and the wing, Eddie, were caught on that front wheel. Murphy keeps in it, though. Murphy doing everything he can to try and stay with Mccarthy. As Mccarthy runs the ball down, it almost comes door to door. They come round the final turn. Mondello Park, give it up. But Dennis Murphy and Paul McCarthy.
Yeah, very strong run there from Paul McCarthy in the lead position. I think he will claw back some of the advantage, but that 10-0, I'm not sure it will be overturned. Judges still discussing this one, Dave, or Ian rather.
He's a handsome guy, but not...
Who's Dave?
For me, it was, Dennis Murphy dropping that wheel on initiation. Watch the replay here. You guys in attendance, look at the big screen at home. Check this out. Dennis Murphy goes hard, fires in a nice fast initiation, gets a wheel up on the curb, and he, bam, catches that cone, destroys the front end, but the bumper starts to get caught on the front wheel. I mean, very, very lucky there for Dennis Murphy that it didn't cause any issues. Car spits it out, and he just keeps in it. Flawless driving there for Dennis Murphy.
Well, I wouldn't say flawless.
Yeah, I mean,
near flawless.
You could have a go in the smart car this afternoon, Eddie. So we get the score.
Yeah, and the judges say that one's a 5-5 across the board, which does mean progressing through to the top 16 is Dennis Murphy. No need to go back to the judges on that one, Ian. The 10-0 being the decisive factor on the first half of the run. Dennis Murphy progresses through, and unfortunately that will be the end of Paul McCarthy's hopes of taking down that Drift Super Series.
So on the line we have a strange battle, Eddie. One of the guys who's probably been in the IDC for the longest amount of time going. Brendan Stone sits on the line, about to take on a guy that is literally a young gun in Irish drifting.
Could we see Jordan Boyce take down a former IDC champion? Because that is exactly what is possible in this next battle. 15-year-old Jordan Boyce, 2.2 Sierra, coming up against Brendan Stone in a 700 brake horsepower monster drift taxi. This is going to be one hell of a show.
Yeah, this is going to be an absolute hell of a show. And you know what? Joe Boyce has been coming on stronger and stronger every round of the championship. He's been progressing through. Not only that, but coming to the BDC, taking podiums there. This guy's really making a name for himself. They're poised on the line. We're ready to rock and roll.
You see our Marshal Joe Fahey just collecting bumpers for the Wall of Fame. Come on, Joe. So, ladies and gentlemen, give a big round of applause to all of our marshals here this weekend. Without them and their hard work, they stand out and they brave the conditions all weekend and all season, working tirelessly to keep the action on track. So, it looks as though the track is clear. We are ready to go. All of the clips repainted during the break that we had between qualifying. They scrubbed the track as well, just to make sure that this track is absolutely perfect for these guys for top 32 battles. Stone to lead in Boyce. Who's going to go through to the top 16? Down the stretch they come, and look at Boyce all over the back of Brendan Stone.
Yeah, very slow initiation there from Stone, giving Boyce the opportunity to get nice and close. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, Jordan Boyce has done 1 million laps around here this weekend already, so he is no stranger to this circuit. And look at this. And
interestingly enough, Jordan Boyce goes wide on clip 3, Brendan Stone goes shallow, and Boyce stays in it. Look at this, pushing the former pro around the track. What has Jordan Boyce started eating for breakfast recently? Because you know what? He has just improved his game tenfold in recent months.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, Eddie, he came to the UK, he took podiums there, he started taking names all across IDC and BDC. This guy is, you know what, he's becoming a man not to be messed with. Look at this, absolutely flawless. Stays nice and deep on clipping point 3. Like you say, Eddie, he's got a very, very good line and doesn't sacrifice line to gain proximity. He's just in it, and he's got the commitment against Stone.
So judges still watching the replay here, just want to deliberate a little bit further on this one.
And you can see Jordan Boyce opted out not to repair the back end of that Sierra before today's competition.
Yeah, not looking phased at all. Judges' score is starting to drop in, and it is with an advantage. Jordan Boyce 6.5 to 3.5. Judges, talk us through it. Jordan Boyce really applying the pressure to Brendan Stone.
Really good lead run there by Brendan. Really on the qualifying line. The only thing that you could mark him down with there is that he only barely got clipping point 3. Other than that, fairly good lead run. Jordan attacked really aggressively from the onset. He was right with Brendan up until clip 3, had to back out slightly, and then he lost a little bit of ground all the way around Mobile 1 corner. Took a slightly shallower line to make up that ground, but was right back on his door coming past us here in front of clipping point 6, and finished really strong then right on Brendan's door as well. If he hadn't have lost the ground around Mobile 1 corner, I probably would have scored with a 7-3, but just with that slight loss of proximity, it finished up with a 6-4 from me.
So there you go. Jordan Boyce taking the advantage, Eddie, looking the stronger driver in that chase position. But now Brendan Stone sits in the position where he'd like to be to try and claw some points back in the second half of this battle. Has the former pro champ got it in him to take down this young gun?
Well, I think what's very interesting from the first half of the battle is that Jordan Boyce didn't look like he was stuck for pace.
No.
Can he outrun?
Yeah. Can he outrun Stone? Is that how it's going to be now?
Because you know what, it seems as though he has his line dialed in. If he can keep on that qualifying line and outrun Brendan Stone, he could see himself into the top 16, running ever so slightly wide, dropping a wheel and clipping a cone on entry as well. But look, a few errors just starting to creep in, opening the door for Brendan Stone is Jordan Boyce. But again, starts to pull a gap, and Brendan Stone doesn't appear to have too much of an answer. I think this one could be tight. A few errors there from Jordan Boyce, but he does have that advantage in from the first half of this battle.
You know what, Eddie, really good run there for Jordan Boyce. Like you said, I think he just come in a little bit too hot, trying to get away from Brendan Stone there on initiation. Apart from that, he carried the speed into Mobile 1, which put him very, very wide onto that outer concrete edge.
But Stone
he had the pace.
Bring the fight.
Yeah, he had the pace, Eddie. Like you say, he pulled away from him when he came off of clipping point 6. Jordan Boyce started to pull car lengths. Look at this, very, very fast. Locks the front wheel up before clipping point 2. Takes that cone out, just drops one wheel. I mean, I don't think judges are going to knock him too hard on that, but again, look, carries a lot of speed into Mobile 1. Gets on a good line though, but then here, look, he starts to put the hammer down, and Stone just does not have the pace. Drops clipping point 6 to gain proximity. Scrappy for me, for Stone, in my opinion. Let's see how the judges score this. Eddie, the scores start to drop in.
Yeah, could we see the dream continue for Jordan Boyce? Could we see him progress through to a top 16, taking down a former champion in Brendan Stone? The scores are starting to drop in, and I can reveal it is extremely close. There is 0.4 in the difference. And taking it through on a scoreline of 10.2 to 9.8 to the top 16 is Brendan Stone. Brendan Stone taking it through to this top 16. We need to go to the judges for an explanation. Really close one, guys.
That was very close, yeah. We didn't even know how that was going to go because of the way we split our Jordan, Jordan is good through clip 1, 2 and 3, except he drops a wheel on 3. Brendan is not as close as Jordan was in the run before, so he was sitting like maybe very slight advantage, roughly around 5-5 we'll say. The wheel drop of Jordan drops it as 6-4 to Brendan, and then as Jordan comes out to transition, he comes out and he drops a wheel all along the outside. Brendan unfortunately has to almost stall up to stop colliding with him, and there's separation from there on, but that separation was caused by Jordan actually dropping the wheel. Like Brendan, he couldn't get back on his door from there on, so he had no opportunity to actually battle him for the rest of the run, and that was created by the wheel drop of Jordan. So that run for me, I scored a 7-3 to Brendan, and that was more or less how we scored it across the board.
So there you have it from the judges. It does not really come much closer than that. And Jordan Boyce, he could be so proud of what he's achieved over the last few months. We have seen an incredible talent emerging, and I really look forward to what he's going to produce next season.
Yeah, exactly. That guy's going to be a force to reckon with in that Prime Championship next year. But we move it along, Eddie, too, and what can only be described as an England versus Ireland battle.
Yes, and a battle of two heavyweights. Anthony Galvin coming up against Phil Morrison. Phil Morrison looking really strong.
Yeah, I mean, very, very strong. Second qualifying run was absolutely flying. What has Anthony Galvin got? As they come off the line, it will be Phil Morrison to lead in Anthony Galvin for a place in the top 16. And look at this. Phil Morrison absolutely firing that car in, but understeers, completely misses clipping point 2. It's not fault. He's way offline now, Eddie. It's Phil Morrison, but Galvin dropping clipping points to gain proximity.
Yeah, let's not forget Galvin was in the championship hunt until he missed a round, and he's staying in the fight here. Now, does he make a dive onto the door? Oh, big error from Galvin as he gets it all wrong in the chase position, losing ground to Phil Morrison. And Ian, you have to say advantage Morrison after that one.
I mean, yeah, in my opinion, you're 100% right, Eddie. A super lead run there by Phil Morrison, but the understeer on initiation is going to hurt his score massively. Look at this, fires that V8 Corolla in, look, understeers, straightens the steering, misses clip 2, and then way offline, completely misses 3, gets it back on, but then look at Galvin. Galvin's low on mobile 1 to try and get on the door. Judges saying in the briefing that's not what they wanted to see. He was going to get rewarded points if he was higher on the bank. Nice wall run from Morrison. Over rotation from Galvin.
Yeah, that's where it really goes wrong for Galvin. You know, Galvin was doing enough to stay in it. It wasn't perfect from either driver up until that point, but certainly scores dropping in, and we do see a 5-5 across the board. So, dead heat. Judges, talk us through it.
Yeah, lots of mistakes there in that battle. Phil, upon initiation, I think he washed a little bit wide, missed clipping point 2, and as a result of that, missed clipping point 3 as well. Galvin stayed relatively on his door despite the bad lead line. From that point on, then Phil more or less got back online, but Galvin was right there with him. Up until that point, it was definitely advantage Galvin. But the advantage that Galvin did have then, he lost it when he had a big straight and the car kind of bogged down between clipping points 7 and 8, just by the 2 walls. And he had another slight straight and then coming up to clipping point 9. So any advantage that he had gained was subtracted then from those mistakes. So it ended up at a 5-5 overall.
So nothing in this one. They've wiped away the cobwebs, and you know, it's time to find a winner. It's time for one of these guys to go out and grab it by the throat. Who is going to take it through? Phil in the prime position to apply the pressure and gain those points. Can he overcome Anthony Galvin, or can Galvin move on to the top 16?
We're about to find out, Eddie, as Galvin fires that CAC Motorsport 180SX in, and Morrison with no answer yet. Morrison really needs to try and put the pressure now on the side of Galvin's car. Galvin on a really good line, but Morrison has no proximity, Eddie, whatsoever.
No, certainly not. Galvin looking very strong here, and this is the Anthony Galvin that came out of the traps early on this season, and a big gap opens up as they cross the line. Has Galvin done enough? It just looked like Phil didn't have the pace here.
I mean, I expected to see Phil Morrison glued to the side of Galvin's 180SX. We see him at BDC last weekend doing some like unbelievable chase driving, taking Steve Bagsi-Biagioni out of the competition in that top 32. But this is not the Morrison I expected to see. I expected to see him right there, but no fight whatsoever. And I mean, yeah, judges watching this one back. He doesn't even try to make a dive on the door. He kind of just lets Galvin run away with it all the way through. And look at that perfect wall run from Galvin. Eddie, it's in the balance for Morrison right now.
Yeah, judges just watching the end of that. The scores start to drop in. Could we see our first one more run of the day? Or will one of these drivers take it through? I can reveal scores dropping in, and taking the battle and going through to the top 16 by a very slight margin is Anthony Galvin. Anthony Galvin takes the win, but by a very fine margin. A little bit extra pace and a better line there. Judges, talk us through that second run.
Yeah, that running really all comes down to proximity. Anthony's lead line throughout was relatively good. He could have been a little bit deeper on some of the clipping points, but fairly solid lead line the whole way. Phil, on the other hand, didn't have the proximity from the very start, and he was slightly cutting the line there to try and make up a little bit of ground, but it really wasn't doing anything for him. No proximity the whole way. Galvin then with his lead line and fairly solid qualifying line the whole way, just had enough to pull a 6-4 advantage for me, so just taking it overall.
So 4 battles into our top 32. We've had 2 Irish versus international battles, both drivers progressing. No international drivers through to the top 16, but that is about to change because Peter Vincek is coming up against Jerome Vassia. Vincek qualifying in 4th position in. Jerome struggling to get to grips with that borrowed Corolla that he took from Chris Brady here this weekend. You have to say he's really up against it here and going to he's going to really need to pull everything out of the bag to try and take down Peter Vincek.
Yeah, I mean, Vincek, world-class driver. I mean, it's going to be very, very hard for Jerome Vassia, but we're about to see what he's got as Vincek fires that DMAC 240 SX in. Absolutely pedal to the metal is Peter Vincek as he fires round Mobile 1. Jerome Vassia sacrificing a little bit of line there to try and gain some proximity. Now starts to reel in Vincek, but Vincek is on an unbelievable line. Look at this, all the way out to the wall. Vassia dropping clipping points. Gets on the door across the line, but it's a little bit too late for Vassia.
Yeah, I mean, Vassia up against probably what would be scored in the 90s if it was a qualifying run. Pure perfection there from Peter Vincek. You just get a replay on this one, Ian.
A world class, look at this, absolutely flawless initiation, keeps on throttle nice and early through clipping point 2, which is what judges wanted to see. You know, Vassia, it doesn't really do a whole lot wrong, Eddie, in my opinion. It's not a bad line, but he sacrifices a little bit coming off a 5 early to try and get on the door, and then after clipping point 7 on the wall, a little straight in there, look, it kind of goes wrong. He tries to, he starts panicking, you know, he knows that he's bleeding points away, so.
Scores dropping in from the judges with a 7-3 advantage, taking it into the second half of this battle is Peter Vincek. Judges, talk us through it.
Yeah, I mean, Peter, great lead line there, and unfortunately Jerome just, you know, sort of all started off pretty bad. He misses clip 3 and 4 and 5, and he's not really gaining anything from it. It's a poor chase line and not enough proximity there to gain any advantage from that poor line there. But you know, Peter coming away with a strong advantage from that lead line.
So there we go, Vassia not being able to do enough on that amazing lead line from Peter Vincek. We've swapped them around, they're on the line ready to go. It will be Jerome Vassia to lead in Peter Vincek. Let's see how Vincek gets on behind Vassia in the chase position. They're off the line, they are good to go. As Vassia fires in the borrowed car from Chris Brady, a little bit of separation from Vincek.
Yeah, I think Vincek being very sensible here, holding back a little bit on entry, knowing that he has the faster car. Oh, look at this! Oh, now.
Wow.
That is interesting. Contact as they come around by Mobile 1. Will the judges deem that to be the fault of Vassia, or will they deem it to be the fault of Vincek?
You know what, Eddie, I'm really not sure. I need to see a replay on this one. Yeah, Vincek keeps a little bit of distance away from Vassia on initiation. Look at this, keeps 3 or 4 car lengths away, then starts to make the dive on
Yeah, this is where he starts to get really close. Now, he would be expected. Look at the angle that he has to dial on. Did he just misjudge this? Because if he did, he could be facing a 10-0 disadvantage.
I'm going to put it out there, Eddie, and I'm going to say, in my opinion, Vincek was carrying too much speed in clipping point 4. Look at this. Coming into clipping point 4 in the driver's briefing, Kieran Hines said that is a slowing zone. That is a slowing part of the track where drivers are expected to be using handbrake or foot brake to scrub some speed.
And if you look here, you can see contact, the rear end of Vassia's car shunts, causing a spin.
Did Vincek overcook it? Did Vincek assume?
Well, the scores have come in, and across the board, 10-0 in favour of Jerome Vassia, which means taking it through to the top 16 is the Frenchman, Jerome Vassia. We will quickly get an explanation from the judges. 10-0 on that one. It appears to be the contact from Vincek on Vassia.
Yeah, it looks like Peter actually came in a little bit too hot. We had a look at Jerome. Look, clip 4, there's between the transition and clip 4 is a slowing area. That's explained in the briefing. So Jerome has a right to slow there. Now he does drag a little bit on the handbrake and a little bit of a straight line for a split second. But we watched the rest of his run. He was back on throttle, or trying to get back on throttle, so he wasn't actually slowing by any visible amount. I think, you know, Peter just tried to come in a little bit hard and was hoping, he was kind of hoping Jerome would be gone out of the way, thinking on throttle, and that wasn't the case, and he had nowhere to go, I think.
So there you go, a big upset there, and you know, everybody tipping Peter Vincek, you know, for to cause an upset here, and I'm almost lost for words. But Jerome Vassia taking it through, and the dream continues for him, and he will be absolutely delighted with that, as will the French contingent that he has brought with him. So we got to move it on. We got a big battle on the line here. Kevin Quinn coming up against Mike Fitzgerald.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin Quinn looked very, very good in qualifying. I was standing on the bank with a few of the other drivers, and they were applauding Kevin Quinn on his initiation. What has he got against Mike Fitz, who looks very, very good as well all weekend? Look at this big opposite flick from Kevin Quinn as he fires in that JZ-powered 180SX. Fitz right there though. Now Fitz starts to make the dive on Mobile 1, but Fitz nearly overcooks it, has to back out of it, Eddie.
Yeah, Fitz washing ever so slightly wide there, losing ground, now starts to get lost in the smoke, dropping some wheels. Just not happening for Mike Fitzgerald, and a spin for Mike Fitzgerald. Has he handed a 10-0 advantage to Kevin Quinn? Whew. It's all happening here, Ian.
I mean, listen, this is exactly what we wanted for the final round. Fireworks, frills and spills, and we're getting it, Eddie, right now. We're going to go back to a replay. Our judges wanted to see that one more time again. Look at this, absolutely flawless from Kevin Quinn, looking very, very strong. Big dive there from Mikey Fitz. He has to back out of it ever so slightly though, gets offline, then look, he gets lost in the smoke, Eddie. He finds himself off circuit there, comes onto the wall way too late, and yeah, I mean, spins on the marbles on the outside of the circuit.
You know, the initial error at Mobile 1 for Mike, but then just getting caught in the smoke, I think, is the contributing factor. But you see the scores dropping in, 10-0 across the board, no need for the judge's explanation. A spin from Mike Fitzgerald, and he is really up against it now. An in-form Kevin Quinn will be a hard man to force an error from.
Yeah, I mean, this guy he's a force to be reckoned with behind the wheel when he drives that car. I mean, 250%. So we're about to get those guys back on the start line.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin Quinn came from Pro-Am all the way to Pro in his very first year in competitive action here in IDC. Mike Fitzgerald in the lead position as well. He's really going to need to hope for a massive error from Kevin Quinn.
Yeah, I mean, and it's very, very rare that we see an error from Kevin Quinn. He's a very consistent driver, and we've said this before. Consistency wins you a championship, and it gets you through the competition. Mikey Fitz, yeah, I mean, he's just got to put down the lead run of a life right now and hope that Kevin Quinn puts a foot wrong.
So we are just waiting for our marshals to ensure that the track is clear and ready for our drivers to take to the circuit for the second half of this battle. It is the final round, Ian, and what a season it has been. Quick mention to our sponsors: Stone Motorsport, Origin Labo, Achilles Radial, Westlake Tyres, MixGarage.com, Brian James Taylors, Cestino Tyre UK, JDM Distro, VP Racing Fuels, Samco Sport, Monster Energy, The Detailing Shed, and of course Link Engine Management. And we want to thank all of you guys who have decided to make the trip to Mondello Park here this weekend, and for everyone watching at home all around the world. We were naming out some of the places that people are watching from. They're staying awake in Australia, cheering on their guy Mitch Larner. Could he be the one to take down the street? He's going to have to battle through an out of form Matt Carter later on. But let's return to the action between Kevin Quinn and Mikey Fitz. Fitz to lead them in, but Quinn with the 10-0 advantage, Ian, as they launch through the first corner.
Yeah, Fitz looking good, but Kevin Quinn very, very balanced, gets that wheel on the curb, takes down that first limit point, but look at the proximity of Kevin Quinn.
Oh!
And Kevin
What
Quinn,
was that from Kevin Quinn? Kevin Quinn shuts it down.
Kevin Quinn shuts it down on Mobile 1, and look at this, Mikey Fitz.
The drifting gods are looking down on Mikey Fitz right now. It was Drift Games versus Quinn, and we could be in for our first one more run of the day. Judges' scores dropping in, and yes, we can confirm with the 10-0 advantage on the second run. Mike Fitz, we have a dead heat. They're going to go one more run. Ian, I'm going to allow you to explain to our adoring fans what the one more run means.
So basically, we used to run a one more time anywhere. We would see a lead and a chase.
So just what we saw.
So exactly what we just saw. We decided to scrap that, and we decided to make things even harder for these guys. We give these guys now just one run to get it done. The higher qualifier gets to choose whether they lead or chase in the battle. There'll be no tyre changes, there'll be no tyre pressure changes, there will be no touching of the car whatsoever. The higher qualifier has to choose whether they're going to lead or chase. They go straight back to the start line, Eddie, and they get it underway, and the winner of that, there has to be a decision. There can be no, there has to be a decision from that run.
Yeah, so the judges can't score it a 5-5.
No.
And common sense would normally say that the higher qualifier would choose to chase.
But statistically,
we've found out this season that it's 50-50.
It's 50-50. The lead car has won 50% of the time, and the chase car has won 50% of the time. So,
and we're hearing that Kevin Quinn now calling a 5-minute rule. Just waiting to see if we can hear what exactly is the reason behind it. It sounds as though that was not driver error, and it was the car at fault.
No, I
causing him
mean,
to have to shut down.
you kind of want to say it was a gear shift issue, but not in Mobile 1. You know, by that time, they've changed gear. Well, Kevin Quinn, I know for a fact, was shifting up at clipping point 3, so you know that by then that's kind of done, and he's in the gear that he wants to be in for Mobile 1. So yeah, maybe, you know, car shutting down, getting too hot, oil pressure, failure settings, anything could have caused that.
So Kevin Quinn calls a 5-minute rule, which also means, Ian, that he loses a championship point. Now, he's not in the running for a championship, so he won't mind that too much. This is, of course, the first competition that he has taken part in IDC this weekend. He was over in BDC last weekend and looking very strong, but just goes to show it's never over until it's over. We move on to our next battle, and you know what? Look at this. I mean, talk about a mouth-watering battle. We have former IDC two-time champion Dwayne McKeever coming up against your newly crowned Pro-Am champion Conor Shanahan.
I mean, the Northern Smoke Machine's time never gets any easier, does it? He came on practice on Friday, blew an engine up. The guys at Brady Motorsport, Bradley, got him a brand new engine built. He's back out on circuit, and here he is.
Wow, what about that for an entry from both drivers?
Fire it in.
Oh, Conor going way too hot into the first corner, drops some wheels, but he's back in it, Ian.
Yeah, Conor Shanahan keeps in it, Eddie, as Dwayne McKeever looks absolutely dialed in that lead position. Conor Shanahan now starts to get on the back end of Dwayne McKeever's S13, bringing that proximity as they transition through the smoke and all the way across the line. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Dwayne McKeever and Conor Shanahan.
Yeah, Conor Shanahan doing enough to get himself back into that one, but may lose a lot of points there for that wheel drop on that third clipping zone.
Eddie, that initiation from Dwayne McKeever was insane. The amount of speed he carried. Conor Shanahan just wasn't ready. That was all it comes down to. We go back to the replay of the wrong replay.
But you know what? I think Conor Shanahan initiated right behind them. It looked like those two were glued to each other. Maybe just Conor caught with the amount of pace that Dwayne was carrying.
It was so fast from Dwayne McKeever. He threw that car at a big angle. So we're just waiting to get a replay of that for you guys here in attendance and at home, so you can, and our judges also. Our judges want to see a replay of that one. Look at this. Look at the angle. Bang. Throws it in.
What about that line from Dwayne McKeever? Incredible.
For me, Conor Shanahan wasn't close enough up on the door of Dwayne McKeever's car. He put himself in the wrong position as he come through clipping point 2, which naturally pushed his line very, very wide onto the grass. But you know what, Eddie? He gets back in it, and he does a very, very good job of chasing down Dwayne.
Yeah, and that could be the difference maker in this battle, because it could just ensure that he gets some points on the board. We are still waiting for the judges to put their scores in. You can see Mikey Fitz waiting on the line there for this one more run, and yeah, judges' scores dropping in and taking the advantage. 7-3 is Dwayne McKeever. Judges, give us your run through on it.
Good run there from Dwayne. You know, lead line was very good. There's no issues. Conor got caught a little bit on, you know, between clip 1 and 2. He washed slightly wide, not a massive amount, but he was wide of clip 2. But then, of course, he dropped 2 wheels at clip 3, and that was the biggest error he made. He transitioned back, and he ran a good line from there on, and actually closed in without sacrificing anything for the last bit. But you know, the last bit is relatively easy to get on someone's door, and we said that in the briefing. So, whereas he might have pulled back a half a point. It's, I think, sitting at around 7-3 to Dwayne at the moment, so Conor's got it all to do now.
Yeah, Conor really with it all to do, and this could be detrimental to his hopes of taking that Drift Super Series, as our judges look for some
sunglasses.
Yeah, some eye protection. Sun is starting to shine here, late September in Ireland. Not notorious with, you know, the best of weather, but we have been blessed with the sunshine, and you know what, we're going to finish this season in style. We finished the BDC season under lights, and it was an absolute spectacle. But you know what? We're going to finish in the sunshine here in Mondello Park. It is Team Shanahan versus Team McKeever. Shanahan needs a flawless lead run. He needs McKeever to make some errors behind him.
Yeah, I mean, McKeever is not the kind of guy that makes mistakes, and he wants to go through for this, Eddie. He's going to want to take a podium this weekend. They get the thumbs up. The green light is go. It's Conor Shanahan to lead in Dwayne McKeever for a place in the top 16.
McKeever notorious for close chase driving. Will we see that here as he goes up against Conor? He's going to have to push it. Oh, a bit of a straighten there from Dwayne McKeever.
Dwayne McKeever grabs a whole bunch of understeer after clipping point 2. Now loses some ground. McKeever, no proximity whatsoever at the moment as Shanahan fires his car onto the wall, and no answer from McKeever whatsoever as they come round the final turn and across
Shanahan
the finish
starting
line.
to pull the points back here, Ian.
Wow. Eddie, look at this from initiation. Nice initiation from both these guys, and then McKeever, look, grabs a whole bunch of understeer car.
Yes, just about keeps it.
Yeah. He almost done exactly what Conor Shanahan done in the first half of that run and went 3 wheels off circuit. So hanging in the balance now. This could be yet another one more run. So
yeah, was it enough to be a 7-3 across the board? Or
yeah, was the lead car's drive enough to overturn that 7-3?
Yeah, I think this could be close between it being a 7-3 and a 6-4 in favour of Conor. Scores dropping in, and well, let's see what the audience think. Who thinks Conor Shanahan takes the win? Who thinks Dwayne McKeever should take the win? Who thinks they should go for one more run? We're going to go one more run! McKeever, Shanahan, one more run. Judges, talk us through it. 7-3 across the board, no splitting them.
No, well, I mean, Conor's lead was real great there, but Dwayne tried to come in to sort of attack him, but dropped a wheel barely at 3, and then was off of clipping point 4 and 5, and just didn't gain any proximity back onto Conor. Conor just accelerated away on the line, and that just swung it back 7-3 the other way. So we'll have to see them run again.
There you go. Judges not being able to split those guys. So we are just waiting to find out who the highest qualifier is. Dwayne McKeever, whether he is chosen to lead or chase. Eddie, all happening here at IDC final.
Certainly is, and you know what? Japfest never disappoints. And once again, you know what? It's the most stacked grid we have. We've never had more champions on the grid. Just the standard of driving in Ireland and UK has just increased. But you know what? The best from around the world are coming here as well. Mitch Larner, a very, very welcome addition to this competition. I'm looking forward to seeing his battle later on and seeing what he can do. But you know what? He's coming up against Matt Carter, and Matt Carter will be wanting to take that streak as well. We got a battle of the Brits. Richards against Steve Biaggioni. I mean, just so many big names. Guys that have been involved in the sport for years and years. They bring so much experience to the grid, and they will not be fazed by the competition area.
No, exactly. And you know what? All of these guys, every single one of these guys that are in this top 32 are complete ambassadors for this sport, and they push this sport to the absolute limit. So we've found out, Eddie, that Dwayne McKeever has chosen to chase Conor Shanahan.
For those of you watching online, you'll be able to see that already. Dwayne in the chase position against Conor, but that's where he made his mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, see now for me, Conor Shanahan overturned a 7-3. Would Dwayne be safer in the lead position? I don't know. We're about to find out if it was a good decision or not as they come off the line for one more time. Is Conor Shanahan to lead in Dwayne McKeever for one more run in the top 16? And they fire it in, and look at this, McKeever this time, no understeer, right with Conor Shanahan as they transition into Mobile 1, Eddie.
Yeah, Shanahan on a really strong line, but McKeever is all over him as they throw it onto the wall into the final section. It can't be scored at 5-5. We will find a winner. Will it be Shanahan? Will it be McKeever? Mondello, make some noise. Wow, and it's only top 32. And the scores are in. And I can reveal, going through to the top 16 is Dwayne McKeever! Dwayne McKeever takes it through to the top 16, but ladies and gentlemen, one final time, hit him with a wall of sound, your Pro-Am champion for 2017, Conor Shanahan! We got to go back to the judges though, Ian.
Yeah, pretty good lead line there by Conor. Unfortunately, though, he just washed wide of clipping point 2, and Dwayne really capitalised on that then and was absolutely stuck to Conor's door. From 2 to 3, then he really gained an advantage. He was probably sitting at almost a 7-3 because of Conor's mistake. From clipping point 3 on to 4, Conor really then dialed into the qualifying line, and Dwayne stayed relatively with him. Conor's great lead line for the rest of the run kind of brought that back maybe to a 6-4 advantage, and Dwayne maintained enough proximity to keep it at a 6-4 advantage, so he just took the win overall.
So there we go, and we move it back to the Kevin Quinn, Mike Fitz. One more run, Eddie. Mikey Fitz getting the hand of God right there, and the higher qualifier being Kevin Quinn deciding that he's going to chase Mike Fitz.
Yeah, and just, the second one more run that we have seen already today, and that just goes to show how close it is and how fine the margins are, even at top 32 here in the Irish Drift Championship. Fitzy to lead them in. Kevin Quinn bringing the anger here, just getting a little bit out of shape as he drops the wheel and goes wide. Now it's to sacrifice his line, but gets onto the door of Mike Fitzgerald. Can he keep it pinned here through the final sections? Mikey Fitz looking good, Ian.
Yeah, Mikey Fitz looking very, very good on a very good lead line.
Another error there from Kevin Quinn.
Yeah, Kevin Quinn dropping a whole bunch of errors, ladies and gentlemen. Give it up for Kevin Quinn and Mikey Fitz as they take it across the line. Judges wanted to see a replay of this one, Eddie. You know what, for me, Kevin Quinn, it kind of all went wrong on the initiation. He come into clipping point 2, caught the cone, transitioned very, very wide onto clipping point 3. Look at this, he initiates before Mike Fitz, catches the cone, look, goes deep, and it makes him transition early. So he completely misses clipping point 4. He's low on mobile 1, kind of trying to throws it away himself there.
The thing is, has he picked up enough points in that chase position to get a narrow victory? As we mentioned, they cannot score this a 5-5. It has to be a decision. Quinn or Fitz, a space in the top 16 awaits the winner. And we await the score from the judges, but they want to see it again, Ian.
Yeah, I mean, going over and over and over this, they must have picked up something that we didn't see, Eddie, as they fire it in. Mikey Fitz on a very, very good run there. Kevin Quinn way down on mobile 1, tries to gain some proximity back, gets on a better line there, but you know what,
just look
it's
after
transition here.
Yeah,
look.
just watch here, just getting caught a little bit again. Kevin Quinn
nearly
just
over-rotates.
having to put on, dial on the angle. And Mike Fitzgerald not doing a whole lot wrong. But as we said, in that chase position, that is where you can gain the points. So, the scores drop in. And it is close. But taking the victory and taking the spot in the top 16 is Mike Fitzgerald. Mike Fitzgerald going through to the top 16. Judges, very little between the two drivers. Talk us through it.
Yeah, that was a very, very close one. Okay, Mike, his line through 1, 2 and 3 was fine. He was online, no problems there. Kevin starts off really aggressively, but he drops a wheel at 3. And the car kind of checks up when he drops the wheel, and he ends up transitioning early. He then dives massively down the inside, way off of clip 4, while Mike is on the outside line going around, heading towards 5. Now, the dropping of the wheel was the first error. Coming offline was the second one, and that coming offline allowed him to get back on Mike's door and gain proximity. So the proximity was gained by him by making that big dive. If you look at how aggressive Kevin was for the rest of the run, it's only because he made that big dive. He wouldn't have been on Mike's door if he had stayed on the qualifying line like he's supposed to do. So error 1 was dropping the wheel, and then the big dive. It swung the advantage back to Mike, and Mike takes it by a very small margin.
So there you have it, Ian. Mike Fitzgerald moves through. We move on to our next battle, which will see Formula Drift driver Dean Carney taking on Charlie Geary. Now, you would say, do you know what? A Formula Drift driver should have the advantage, but Charlie Geary has a habit of beating Formula Drift drivers. In the past, he has taken down none other than Dai Yoshihara and, of course, Alex Helbron. Can he do the same when he comes up against the returning Dean Carney? We will see. Carney to lead them in, Geary to give chase. Down to the stretch they come, but a big gap opens up here, Ian.
Yeah, huge separation. Looks like Chuck Geary not having the pace in that car, and makes a big dive.
Makes a massive dive. Does he make contact there, because Carney's spinning as well?
Yeah, I mean, there's a bumper in the middle of the circuit that looks like...
Yeah, we need to see a replay.
It looks like on
that
the
one.
dive.
It wasn't very clear cut the first time around. You can see Charlie carrying a lot of speed in here. Late transition as well.
Yeah, look, Geary just tagging the back end of that car ever so slightly enough to take the rear bumper off. Not sure if it was enough.
It's his own bumper that comes off just when he hits the... Oh, no, sorry. My mistake.
I'm not sure if the contact was enough, personally, to put him into a spin, but we're about to find out. The scores drop in, Eddie.
Yeah, 10-0s across the board in favour of Carney. 4 wheels off track for Charlie Geary, and Charlie left out with a mountain to climb.
Yeah, I mean, not easy for Chuck Geary there. So we get those guys back around.
So already in your top 16, we have James Dean, we have Dennis Murphy, we have Brendan Stone, we have Anthony Galvin, we have one international driver in Jerome Vassia, we have Mike Fitzgerald, we have Dwayne McKeever, we have 3 former IDC champions all in the top 16 already, and that's only the first half of this top 32 bracket. We still have Jack Shannon on the other side. We have Shane O'Sullivan, we have Pete Nielsen, we have Oliver Evans, Mitch Larner, Matt Carter. The names go on. Nigel Culver coming up against Adrian Walsh. Tomas Kiley coming up against Michael Megan. I mean, it's mouth-watering. I mean...
Yeah, I mean, the battles, Eddie, are just unbelievable. Like, I mean, what a way to finish out the year, what a way to finish out unbelievable weather, an absolutely packed Mondello Park, and some of the best drivers from around the world all coming head-to-head to fight it out for the final step to try and take down that 14-year streak that still hasn't been beaten, Eddie.
Do you know what? I think it's all going to come down to what happens on the other side of the bracket, because that's where it's stacked with some international drivers. But some of them are going to be taking each other out. We're going to lose Carter or Larner.
Yeah, I mean, and
we're going to lose
money
Richards
is on those guys. I know a lot of drivers in the pits are saying Larner is looking strong to take it. Watergrass Hill, he went out due to mechanical failure. He was very close to a place in the top 4. And people said, you know what, if he would have got it in the top 4, he could have gone through to the final. So, you know what, Mitch Larner is the guy to keep your eye on this afternoon as we move it through. Yeah, a lot of people tipping Oliver Evans as well. And, you know, we saw some very aggressive driving from him, pushing James Dean around the track here in practice. And Dave Egan even said it himself this morning. He could have bottled some of those battles in practice and sold them at 20 euro a ticket, and people would have bought it because the standard was just that high. Yeah, nobody wanted to show a weak link, not even in practice. No, and nobody wanted to show a camera angle. 10 to 15 people deep in all the way around the circuit here. People have come in in the tens of thousands to be here in Mondello Park, and sun shining. It's just such a fitting end to the championship. Do we have cars on the line? Will we see the second half of the Geary Carney? So Dean Carney just wanted to check his car out. You can see him making their way back to the start line there, and yeah, Carney just making sure that the bumper was completely taken off the car before he heads back up to the line, just so it doesn't cause any problems. So if you're not in work tomorrow and you're over the age of 18, the IDC after party will be hitting the right venue in Swords this evening, so get yourself along. Yeah, I mean, you get to party with all the Drift Games guys, all the drivers, Team Slide Motorsport. Stay away from them. Yeah, they're good lads. They're good guys, but you know what? A little bit wild with the drink inside them. They're very, very wild bunch of lads there. So what happens when you party with guys from Yorkshire, Eddie? Yes. As I'm slowly learning. You're slowly getting there. So we move it back to the start line, where we will see Chuck Geary now to lead in FD driver Dean Carney. All in the hands now of Chuck Geary to try and overturn a 10-0 deficit. They're off the line. We are good to go for a spot in the top 16. Geary absolutely screaming at the M3 under the bonnet of that E36 Touring as he fires his car in. Separation. Yeah, and it looks like he really has the pace here, but will we see a charge now from Dean Carney, making that demo car work very well? Yeah, and Dean starts to turn the screw now as they throw it down onto the wall. Dean applying the pressure. He knows he doesn't need to do too much here. A 10-0 advantage. Just get it across the line. And I think that's all she wrote for Charlie Geary, pushing as hard as possible. Scores drop in. And yes, taking the win is Dean Carney through to the top 16. No need to go to the judges on that one, Ian. A 10-0 from the first run, sealing the fate of Charlie Geary, and he bows out of competition. Yeah, we move it along to the other side of the bracket, Eddie, where we see a very interesting battle on the start line. It will be your 2017 Pro Champion, Jack Shanahan, to take on former mechanic and the guy that he taught, Ryan Morton. So Jack Shanahan, Ryan Morton's teacher. Yeah, I mean, if you turn back 12, 15 months and Ryan Morton entered a Drift Superstar competition, he ended up winning that. He'd never drifted before. He won himself a sponsored drive in the Irish Amateur Drift Championship. He has come through the 2 rounds of that. He qualified into the into the Pro-Am Championship, where he competed yesterday and finished in the top 4. He's now in a borrowed car, coming up against the guy who mentored him,
in the Superstar competition and, of course, in the Pro Drift Academy. These two guys are really good friends off the track. They now instruct together down at the academy. This one, do you know what? Shannon already has his title. Expect Morton to go to the door here.
Yeah, I mean, Morton's not going to give him an inch, and he's in a borrowed car from Alan Hines.
Yeah, Alan Hines might want to look away.
Yeah, you know what? Ryan Morton's in a good position because he knows all of Jack Shanahan's moves. He's seen him. They've drove together a lot. They've practiced together. So right about now, Ryan Morton to chase down your 2017 IDC Pro Champion Jack Shanahan. They're off the line, and look at this big separation as Shanahan fires that 2JZS14 in. Oh, and off track and into the tyre barrier goes Ryan Morton as Shanahan keeps his foot in and finishes it off with style, Eddie.
And Kieran Hines turns around with a look of uh-oh, but it looks as though that car was safe, and Ryan, you can just see how confident the driver he is, making sure that it took a side impact there and completely killed all the speed before it actually made contact with that very soft foam barrier. But you can just see how hard he had to push here to try and keep with the pace.
Yeah, I mean, look at the pace.
Jack Shanahan.
Look at that. Shanahan absolutely firing that car in. Morton sends that car in, but he's way, way wide, too late on initiation. Misses clipping point 1 and just falls massively off track. So it looks like we're going to need recovery to get that car off of the wall. So you can just see our Mondello track staff down there just going to get that car safely removed off the wall. Doesn't look like there's any damage, Eddie, so should hopefully be able to go straight in unless Ryan Morton's not confident with the car, which then he will have to call a competition timeout.
Yeah, Alan Hines might even say, do you know what?
I'll have the keys back.
I'm taking it back.
I'll have the keys back. I haven't done hardly any damage all year.
Because you're coming up against Jack Shannon, he's probably want to go.
He's going to rub it. He's going to rub the door without a shadow of a doubt.
So it looks as though that car has been recovered, and yeah, you can see the wheels just spinning in the grass. He should be able to get it moving now under its own steam.
Just dragging away some of the barriers there in the...
Yeah, tagging away that Mobile 1 banner. So Ryan Morton, yeah, just a little bit of bumper damage. And we await to see, will he just go straight back to the line?
Yeah, you know what? Doesn't look like there's any damage at all with that car. Just I do believe that Alan Hines actually done that damage himself yesterday, running the wall.
Yeah, Alan, so you can't say anything about it. Leave Ryan alone. So, yes, we do see Ryan Morton head straight back up to the line here, so he'll just give that car just a quick little test just to check that the steering and everything is still in perfect order, because these guys, you know, we talk about the drift speed between clip 1 and 2 when we clock it on the gun earlier on in qualifying. There was, you know, people ranging from the 90s up to just over 100 kilometers per hour, but these guys are actually entering, or, you know, before they pull the handbrake, they're at upwards of 90 to 100 miles per hour. So it is a very, very fast entry. Yeah,
it's very, very fast entry, and obviously because it's off camber, you know, so you gain speed straight away. And it like David Egan said yesterday to me when we was watching some of the practice, you get it wrong, and you are heading for that barrier no matter what you try and do. It's one of those circuits that just draws you in as soon as you get it wrong. So
yeah, and there's very little you can do to correct it once you hit that grass. We have seen guys just making very last-ditch efforts to make evasive action in the past and getting away with it by like the skin of their teeth. But we've also seen some cars going in with some big, heavy hits into that barrier as well. So with a bit of luck, there will be none of that on the second half of this battle, but the scores are in, of course, just to confirm it. Jack Shannon taking a 10-0 advantage into the second half of this battle. So part 1 of the job done here for Jack Shannon. He'll now be in the chase position, and Jack, a very aggressive chase driver.
Yeah, I mean, Jack is a very, very aggressive chase driver, and we're about to find out how aggressive as Ryan Morton fires that Drift Games borrowed 2JZS14 in. And look at this, Shanahan almost tagging the door. Unbelievable transition. Jack Shanahan just dialing that car on the foot brake to avoid contact with the back of Ryan Morton's S14. And again, another flawless transition. They fire it onto the wall. Morton on a very, very good line, but Shanahan is right with him as they come wheel to wheel around the final turn. Shanahan pushing Morton across the line. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Ryan Morton and Jack Shanahan.
Yeah, very impressive chase run from Jack Shanahan, but Ryan Morton doing everything he could, not doing a whole lot wrong, but there's not a whole lot you can do with a chase run like that. Jack Shanahan takes a 7-3 advantage in the second run. He's going through to the top 16. Judges talk us through the second run.
Yeah, fantastic chase run there by Jack, absolutely on Ryan's door the whole way. But Ryan really did have a good lead line. The only thing that we were looking at slightly was that he did tend to slow a little bit at clipping point 3. It looked like he was about to go off and had to back out of it a little bit. Other than that, really good lead line. Jack was on his door the whole way, so Jack takes a strong advantage, and after the first run, Jack takes the battle overall.
So there we go. Not enough to overturn that 10-0. We move it along to the next battle, which is a battle of the SR20.
Yeah, we're going back in time to 2005, where there was SR20s and S13s, and it's going to be Mark McBurney to take on Pete Nielsen. These two guys qualifying in 15th and 18th, respectively. So not a whole lot between the two, and a very, very interesting battle. And I was there with Pete Nielsen when he found out that he was going to be up against McBurney. And he was quietly confident. He was happy enough because, you know what he said, I'm not at too much of a disadvantage here as I would be against some of the other drivers with bigger horsepower cars. McBurney doing a good job here. Peden starting to bring the fight here as he keeps that proximity. It's Drift Shed versus Drift Games. Who's going to take it through? They throw it onto the wall. Peden starting to lose a little bit of ground here. Can he get himself into the top 16? He wants to finish the season in style. Tied fourth at the moment. Needs a big result. But you know what? I think he's up against it there. McBurney looking fast.
Yeah, McBurney is a very, very good, confident driver, very, very fast. Sends that car in on good angle and nice speed. And I know Mark McBurney got a lot of help from the guys from Link Engine Management, powering that car 600 horsepower. But look at this, Pete Nielsen makes a nice dive on Mobile 1. Gets right up in the business of Mark McBurney's S13, fire it to the wall, and then a little bit of separation, and Peden, you know, starts to put a foot wrong ever so slightly after the final turn. So, you know what, not sure how the judges are going to go this one, but the scores drop in. Eddie?
Yes, and sorry, just making sure that we have the correct scores. And yes, they are in, and with the slightest of advantages, Mark McBurney takes a 5.2 to 4.8. We go to the judges to get an explanation.
Really good lead line there by Mark. The only thing that we can mark him down with is that he was slightly off clipping point 8. Peden started off very aggressive, but I think he was a little bit overly aggressive. Might have slightly had a wheel drop at clipping point 2, and then as a result of that missed clipping point 3, but really got back on the qualifying line and got back onto Mark's door all around Mobile 1 corner. Maintained somewhat of the proximity then for the rest of the run, but was sacrificing line somewhat then to maintain that proximity. If Mark had a perfect lead line, he definitely would have come away with a stronger advantage, but with that missing clipping point 8, I just scored at a 5.5 advantage to Mark, so very, very little advantage to Mark going into the second run.
So this one hangs in the balance. Mark McBurney goes into that chase position. It did look as though he had the pace for Peden Nielsen here, so will we see him go to the door? Peden needs to put in a very strong lead run here, but he is so technically correct in that lead position as well. They get the orders from the marshal. They are out of the traps and down the stretch they come. They fire in side by side into the first corner. Look at the aggression, wheel to wheel.
Yeah, Mark McBurney really bringing the fight this afternoon to Peden Nielsen. Peden Nielsen on an absolutely perfect lead line so far, and Mark McBurney is right with him as they fire it to the wall. Mark McBurney not putting a foot wrong at the moment, just backs out of it ever so slightly there as Peden Nielsen throws it around that final turn and across the line. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up there for Peden Nielsen and Mark McBurney.
Yeah, Mark McBurney showing.
Look at the aggression in it.
Yeah,
look at this.
Bumper to
Tagging on the
bumper.
back end, yeah.
Yeah, and look at this, wheel to wheel, almost making contact through the first corner, and just keeps that proximity the whole way around. Big dive now down into Mobile 1. Peden just not getting wide enough maybe on Mobile 1, and not doing a whole lot wrong, but just can't shake McBurney.
It just doesn't have the power to try and escape from McBurney. That's what it is. McBurney, you know, matching him for pace, stays with him. Scores drop in, Eddie.
Yeah, and look at this, 8-2 across the board in favour of McBurney, who goes through to the top 16. Peden Nielsen bows out at top 32. We go back to the judges.
Yeah, that was a great chase there, Mark. Following a kind of a difficult line, to be honest. Peden was from 1 to 2 was fine, but coming towards 3, he checked up a little bit and was slightly off 3, which is difficult for Mark to twin with. Mark read it very well, transitioned, and was able to get back on Peden door. Peden again missed 4, but he got the rest of the clips from there on, but I'm sure Mark was on his door for the rest of the run, so it was a great chase, taking a big strong of 8-2 from us across the board here, based on Peden's actually missing a couple of clips and Mark's great chase and approximately.
So there you go, Mark McBurney taking the win for proximity and walking away with it.
And the dream season ends there for Peden Nielsen, but he will be back better than ever next year with a few surprises up his sleeves. I'm not going to reveal anything because I get in trouble, but certainly he will be returning with some big news in the new season. We moved along. Shane O'Sullivan, a veteran of Irish and UK drifting, coming up against Gary Dunn.
Yeah, Shane O'Sullivan, ex-British champion. Gary Dunn looking very on form though this afternoon, Eddie. Very, very strong in qualifying. Gary Dunn looking for the result this year. He hasn't quite got one yet as Shane O'Sullivan leads in Gary Dunn. They fire it in and look at this, Gary Dunn right with him as they come through the first turn, but Gary Dunn starts to dial off at that angle, now makes a big dive and puts it in the gravel.
Yeah, Gary Dunn making an easy decision for our judges. Shane O'Sullivan will happily take that 10-0 advantage back to the start line with him, and you know, you don't want to come up against a guy like Shane O'Sullivan and hand him a 10-0 advantage just like that, because he is so steady. This guy has an incredible amount of podiums. It's just impossible to believe that he's never got the top step of the podium here in the IDC. A former BDC champion, as you say.
Yeah, I mean, Gary Dunn knew that he had a fight on his hands, and you can see that from initiation. Gary Dunn fires that car in just a little bit too quick, maybe for him. He dials out, you know, of angle on clipping point 3, fires it onto clipping point 4 to try and get proximity in mobile 1, but it doesn't pay off, Eddie, and we see Vincek make that same mistake earlier in the day. Making that dive on clipping point 4 is either you win it or you lose it, and unfortunately there for Gary Dunn, it didn't work, so it will be a 10-0 advantage to Shane O'Sullivan.
Yeah, so we wait for them to come back to the line. They will be switched around. O'Sullivan will chase in Gary Dunn for the second half of this battle, and could this be the weekend that Shane O'Sullivan takes it to this top step? He's going to have to fight his way, because if he wins this battle, he'd have a potential battle with Oliver Evans or Brian Egan, and I mean, you know, we won't even look any further than that because
yeah, it's going to be a very, very hard fought weekend for whoever goes through. I mean, the whole way through to the final this afternoon is going to be absolutely hard work. They're back on the start line. Our drivers get the thumbs up. We get the green light to go. Eddie, is Gary Dunn to lead in Shane O'Sullivan. Shane O'Sullivan now just needs to seal the deal and take the spot in the top 16 as they come down. Gary Dunn flicks that car in on a big angle. It doesn't pay off though, Eddie. He understeers massively. Yeah, gets it back online.
Yeah, quite a lot of understeer for Gary Dunn there, and you can just see the experience of Shane O'Sullivan just hanging back, knows he doesn't need to do anything silly, can pull the proximity in through the final corner, just keeps it tight, and you know, that's what you're up against. A wealth of experience and a very, very sensible run there from Shane O'Sullivan. So scores drop in, 6-4 across the board in favour of Shane O'Sullivan. We can reveal Shane O'Sullivan is going through to the top 16. No need to go back to the judges on that one.
No, I mean, he's not going to be able to overturn a 10-0 advantage, even only if Shane O'Sullivan went off track, which he didn't. So we move it along to the start line. It will be Oliver Evans now to take on Brian Egan.
Yeah, and you know, when we saw the list of battles in the top 32, this was one that I was very interested in seeing. I think this one is going to be very close. We have two very aggressive drivers, two drivers that like to chase very closely.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that Brian Egan is the only person, Oliver Evans, that hasn't hit this year.
Well, he's about to hit him.
Yep.
Well, he's about to be hit by him, and then he's going to hit him.
Yeah.
But they're definitely going to hit each other.
Without a shadow of a doubt, on the start line, ready to go. They give him the thumbs up. Our start line marshal gives him the green light to go. It's Ollie Evans, all the way from Wales in the UK, to lead in Brian Egan. Brian Egan in that dealt with R32, and a big fast initiation there from Oliver Evans. But look at this from Egan. He starts to make the dive. Oh, and contact.
Brian Egan making a huge dive there.
Contact from Egan, but Ollie Evans keeps his foot in and keeps the line absolutely dialed.
Now, was that Brian Egan pushing too hard, or was that something from Evans causing a mistake. We would need to see the replay, but you know what? It looks to me as though Brian Egan going way too hard, knowing that he has to go close.
Yeah, I mean, you can't give Oliver Evans an inch. If you give him an inch, he's going to take 4 miles. And look at this from initiation. Look at this, a big, fast, snappy initiation from Oliver Evans. Egan fires it in, doesn't lift at all. Yeah, just gives him a little bit of a tag on the back bumper, drops wheels and spins. So we wait for the scores to drop in. The judge is still discussing this one, Eddie. Maybe they're trying to find out whether Oliver Evans lifted at all. He didn't. You can see the brake lights flashing there on the back of Brian Egan's R32 Skyline.
Yeah, I think what the judges might have been looking at there was just the line that
Evans was taken.
taken through. He was a little bit off that second clipping zone. Brian further into it, which can potentially result in going, in issues. But the scores do drop in, and taking a 10-0 advantage into the second half of this battle is Oliver Evans. No need to go to the judges on that one. Pretty clear cut. They deem Brian Egan to be at fault for his own misfortune. He heads off the track, but we got to switch it around. But I think that's the mind game that Oliver Evans can kind of, he's getting into people's heads without actually having to do a whole lot, because he knows you know that he's going to go to your door.
Yeah, he has kind of now brought himself into this position where everybody who battles him knows that he's going to be putting it on your door in a chase position.
Yeah,
so
he's
if
not
you're
going to lift.
Yeah, if you're not glued, I mean, look at him and Kevin Quinn last weekend. They were bumper to bumper. Ollie Evans hit Kevin Quinn's car so hard that he opened the boot on Kevin Quinn's car, and Kevin Quinn was like, what? Dude, give me some room. But he doesn't give anybody any room, and that is how he wins battles, and that's how he proves his worth in these championships. They're on the line, Eddie. It's Brian Egan to lead in Ollie Evans.
Yeah, the thing about this is that with a driver like Ollie Evans, you can't predict it. There's no way he's just going to go safe here. He's going to go on the door. He could spin. He could cause a crash. He could cause an explosion. You just don't know. Down the stretch they come. Egan to lead in Evans. Who's going to take it through? Evans with the 10-0 advantage. Egan's got to be perfect, and he has to hope for a mistake. But look at this. Big straighten from Oliver Evans as he understeers through the first corner.
Yeah, big mistake there from Oliver Evans. He manages to get it back online and now starts pedalling that 2JZ S14 onto the door of Egan's car. But you know what, Eddie? Egan's...
Wow.
Egan
off the track, and just at the last second makes evasive action to avoid it. Looked like he was going in the wall, Ian.
I mean, it definitely looked like he was going in the wall. Unbelievable there. I need to see a replay of exactly what happened there. And I was just going to say that Brian Egan looked like he had the pace and looked like he started pulling away from Oliver Evans there. Oliver Evans making a big mistake on initiation, gets it back. Look at this in Mobile 1, makes a nice dive on clipping point 5. What goes wrong with Brian Egan's car? He throws it to the wall, all goes well, and then all of a sudden, I mean, you know what? He gets on the marbles on the loose bit of that track and he's gone. And we look at this from a different angle. You guys in the grandstand had the best view of that. What's you could ask for? Look at this, Egan's car. Yeah, look, understeers. He gets on the marbles. You can see him corrected the steering.
And the problem for Brian Egan there is he's actually taking the correct line. He's on a very wide line that people should be taking but haven't been taken. So all that rubber should be washed out further, but it's washed out to the line that he was on and just causes him to have to steer off track to make evasive action. We can reveal going through to the top 16 is Oliver Evans. Oliver Evans takes it through. No need to go to the judges. Only our second international driver into the top 16, but we're about to have one more. Is it going to be Larner? Is it going to be Carter? We've been eyeing this one up from very early on in the day.
And you know what? I'm Team England 110% on this one, but Mitch Lardner is a guy that I back everywhere he goes because he drives the wheels off of this 700 horsepower supercharged V8 PS13. Eddie, can this guy be stopped? Is this the weekend that Mitch Lardner goes all the way to the final?
Look, can Carter beat Larner? Yes. Will Carter beat Larner? He's going to really have to up his game. We haven't seen a whole lot from Carter today.
2 champions, 2017 British Drift champion, Australian champion on the line. This is an international championship battle right now. For a place in the top 16, it's Mitch Lardner to lead in and Matt Carter. What have they got? And Matt Carter gets the jump on Lardner there through the pace. Matt Carter tagging on the back end of Lardner's car as they fire it in the first turn. Understeer from both the guys, but they keep in it.
Carter needs to bring the fight here. He's lost the ground on Mitch Larner. And Larner sends up the smoke signals. But look at this from Carter as he fights back. Throws it. Spin from Larner. Would you believe it? It just can't go right for Mitch Larner. on Irish soil, and you can imagine he is swearing heavily.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. A nice fast initiation. Both guys grab understeer. You can see massive steering corrections coming through clipping point 2 there from them guys. Fire it into Mobile 1. Yeah, judges wanted to see that understeer. Look at this. Big steering correction from Lardner and Carter as they come into clipping point 2. Lardner on a good line, though. He gets it back. Carter keeps his distance until they come around Mobile 1, then starts to make the dive. He's known as the door hunter. And look at this. Big transition. They fire it onto the wall, but Lardner, way over rotates.
Yeah, just throws it in way too fast, and I think you could see Matt Carter making the dive there through the smoke.
I mean, Carter knew him. He didn't have a lot of proximity as he come into Mobile 1, so Carter knew he had to claw it back somehow, Eddie, and the only way to get it was to get it on the door.
Yeah, just to confirm it there, 10-0 advantage coming in from the judges across the board in favour of Matt Carter. Carter now in the lead position. Mitch right where he needs to be in that chase position to try and force the error here from the UK champion.
Yeah, this is going to be either spectacular or disastrous right now for Mitch Lardner as they get the thumbs up and the green light to go. Matt Carter leads in Mitch Lardner for a spot in the top 16. They are coming down the start straight, smashing through the gears, Eddie, as Carter throws it in, and Lardner is door to door with him through clipping point 1, but understeer again from Lardner as they transition into Mobile 1. Mitch Lardner right on the door of the Jap Speed Tyres Maxxis R32. They're banging wheels on transition. Look at this.
Oh, contact!
Big contact
on
and
transition.
They keep in it. They absolutely keep it.
Mondello, make some noise.
What? Mitch Lardner was not going down without a fight.
WTF. Western Australia, your boy has done you proud. He may go down, but he's gone down with one hell of a fight. Look at this in.
Yeah, he grabs a whole load of understeer, but it helps him out a little bit because it puts him closer on the door of Carter's car. Absolutely glued through Mobile 1, banging wheels as they transition off a clipping point 5. Look at this. Bam! Big hit up the back there for Carter.
Yeah, opening
But
Carter's
you know
boot,
what?
trying to steal the shopping.
Carter and Lardner keep absolutely pinned and in it. Carter, it doesn't affect Carter's line. He manages to transition on the wall. Lardner makes a correction, which naturally he would do, but then they gets back on the door and they finish off the run.
Yeah, I mean, Carter could have easily,
Put himself into a spin.
taken a dive there, but he's
Yeah.
got no time for
Arm
that.
out the window from Matt Carter. He's having the weekend that he wanted. Look at that, and almost another rub again from Mitch Lardner as he pushes Matt Carter across the finish
You know
line.
what? If you're going to go down with a fight. The scores are in, and going through to the top 16 is Matt Carter. Ladies and gentlemen, please give Mitch Lardner a round of applause. He has been commuting from Australia all season, and he has wowed us, and he has deserved so much more this season. You can see his car is battered and bruised, but taking it through is Matt Carter, your 2017 UK champion. Could we see Carter take down the Irish here at Japfest?
I mean, we'd like to think so, Eddie. That 14-year streak's got to be broken some point. Ladies and gentlemen, as he comes out to put on a smoke show for you guys, give him a round of applause all the way from Australia, Mitch Lardner.
We're just going to take a 30-minute break from the action while the smoke clears. So we were behind time, and thanks to Mitch Lardner, that ensures that we will probably end up finishing under the lights here.
Under lights, I mean, what way? That's even better. Sunlight, and then it goes down, and we get the lights out here at Mondello. Amazing.
So Carter goes through to the top 16. We're going to have another UK driver in the top 16. Is it going to be Richards? Is it going to be Biagioni? Biagioni looking good here this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, Bagsy looking very, very good, and everyone's saying that his car making an absolute ton of smoke as he transitions off the wall. Guys in the pits saying that if you're trying to chase Bagsy as he comes into the first wall run, his car makes that much smoke that you cannot see the second wall, so you have to shut down. It makes it very dangerous to chase. So, you know what, for me, Bagsy in a good position, but Martin Richards qualified first last weekend at BDC.
Don't count him out.
He's a good driver. That guy is European class driver. So they're on the line. We are ready to go. The smoke has started to clear from Mitch Lardner's car. It is Richards to lead in Biagioni. Eddie, what do you call? What do you reckon?
You know, originally when I looked at it, I said Martin Richards, but I think Bagsy is showing enough form here this weekend that it's hard to rule him out.
When Bagsy's on form, he's a dangerous guy to be chased by. And here they come over the brow of the hill. Martin Richards fires that Driftworks R32 in, and Bagsy is right with him as he makes the dive coming into clipping point 3. Richards starts to put on the angle, but look at this for Bagsy!
Oh, contact!
Bagsy pushing Martin Richards around Mobile 1. Look at this aggression from the get-go, Eddie, just what I said.
Yeah, but Richards stays in it, and so does Bagsy. There's bumpers flying everywhere. Hardly a panel left on these cars as they take it over the finish line. I can't see what's happening with all the smoke on the track. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. Bagsy and Richards. Whew, it's hotting up.
I told you he was dangerous in that chase position when he's on it. And you know what? He's on it. Watch the replay. Richards, big, fast, aggressive initiation. Bagsy gets on him all the way from clipping point 3. Look at the dive. Pushes Richards into Mobile 1 and then stays with him in that turbo V6 PS13, pushing Richards JZR32 all the way round onto the wall. You know what way are the judges going to call this one, Eddie? This is a tight one.
Yeah, we're still deliberating on it. It was a real dogfight between those two guys, and they would be so familiar with each other's styles as well, Ian, and they would both not want to be beaten by the other as well at this point in the competition. Both of them want to take the streak. If they're going to be beaten, let it be beaten by an Irish guy. They don't want to go down against somebody.
Each other. Yeah, exactly. So we wait for the scores to drop in. Judges really pulling this one apart.
Yeah, judges earning their keep this weekend. Scores do drop in though, Ian.
Yeah, the scores drop in, Eddie.
Ooh.
And Eddie.
We have what's known in the trade as a split decision.
Yeah, a complete split decision on the board. We go to the judges.
Yeah, wow. Bagsy really aggressive there. Look, the problem here obviously is clip 4 where there was contact. We want to see aggression, but in my opinion that contact was heavy and was enough to warrant several points being taken off. So whereas he had a big advantage over the run with all the proximity, that contact took that advantage away. So I'm sitting on a 5-5. I think Kevin is leaning towards Richards with a 6-4, and Ryan is the opposite way, I think. So it ends up with a 5-5. So obviously I'm the one who's right, lads, and that clearly.
So there you have it. Judges can't agree on this one. We are about to send them for the second half of this battle. Mondello Park, are you still with us?
I think they're half asleep, Eddie.
You can do a little bit better than that, because we're not sending the second half of this battle until you guys make some noise. The sun is shining in Mondello Park. Are you enjoying the action? A little bit better.
A little bit better.
Do you know what? They're saving their voice for the final.
For the final, and I don't blame them, Eddie, but on the line, ready to go, is Steve Bagsy Biagioni in that Monster Energy PS13, ready to lead in Martin Richards from Driftworks. What way this one's going to go, we don't know. Is Richards going to push Bagsy around Mobile 1? We're about to find out. They get the green light. They are off the line, Eddie. It is go for a place in the top 16.
Oh, look at this entry!
Unbelievable!
What about that? Oh!
Whoa! Whoa! Martin Richards tries to jump Bagsy. Bagsy keeps his foot in it going around Mobile 1. Oh my God, look at this. Martin Richards gets back in the mix, starts to try and catch him up, but he shuts it down. And Bagsy takes it to the wall. Mondello raised the roof for Bagsy and Martin Richards.
Dave Egan throws his hands in the air as if to say, what was that? There are no words. Mondello, make some noise.
The replay, Eddie, I need to see the replay. Look at this from Martin Richards. So much aggression on the initiation. Bagsy throws on big angle, misses clipping point 1, but
that is what happens when you go wheel to wheel. He literally climbed up on Biagioni's wheel.
I mean, yeah, but was Richards on the wrong line? That's what we want to kind of try and break down now. We know that Bagsy was on the wrong line because he missed clipping point 2. So aggressive from both these guys. Look at this initiation as they come up off the line. Richards gets behind Bagsy and then flicks at the same time. Bagsy's wide, he misses 2. Oh, wow.
I almost forgot that there was a decision to be made.
Unbelievable. So judges talking about this one, Eddie.
Driftworks cars are no stranger to that sort of contact Alexander Kantorovsky made a similar move on Phil Morrison before in Driftland last season. So
I mean, was Richards 4 wheels off the tarmac? Yeah, Richards was actually airborne, 4 wheels off the tarmac.
I'd imagine that felt very, very sketchy inside the car.
So judges trying to break down, Eddie, was Bagsy offline and off throttle? That is that's an accelerating zone. So from the initiation to clipping point 3, those guys should be on throttle. Was Bagsy on throttle or was he lifting? So judges are pulling this one apart now, trying to find out who is at fault.
And I think, Ian, we have a decision from our judges. Waiting for the scores to drop in to confirm it.
And the scores drop in, Eddie.
Yeah. So judges taking their time to consider that one. Who thinks Martin Richard takes the win? Who thinks Bagsy takes the win? I can reveal going through to the top 16 is Martin Richards. We got to hear it from the judges.
Okay, Bagsy comes in, okay, and the rule that we said, and then we explained this in the briefing, you've got between 1 and 2, and just before clip 2 you should be on full throttle as you get to clip 2. So you come down off the rise, and from there on you should be on full throttle. It looks like Bagsy initiates, he washes well wide, and you can see it, we watched the replay several times, you can see smoke off his tires as he's coming down the hill, then the smoke disappears, so he's off throttle because he's washing wide. If he doesn't go off throttle, he's gone straight off. If he had stayed on throttle all the way down there, he was in the barrier, so he had to back out of it. You're the chase driver, you're driving in beside a car in front of you at 80 or 90 miles an hour. The last thing you're expecting them to do is slow in an area where in the briefing we said you have to stay on full throttle. So Martin comes in expecting Bagsy to get on throttle. Bagsy's slowing because he's after making an error. It leaves Martin with nowhere to go, and that's why we felt there was contact. So there's a 0 scored because of the, obviously car goes off to 0, and we have to lay blame. And in our opinion, it was Bagsy slowing down that caused the error and caused the contact. So 10-0 to Martin.
So there you go, Martin Richards taking it through to the top 16
in that flying R32.
3 UK drivers now in the top 16 in a row. We also have the Frenchman Jérôme Vassia, and we're hearing James Dean having clutch issues. Tomas Kiley now coming up against Michael Megan. 2 battles left in the top 32. 2 spaces remain.
And this is just top 32, Eddie. We haven't even got to the final yet. On the start line, like you say though, Eddie, we go back. It is Tomas Kiley to lead in Michael Megan. 2 places left in the top 16, and then we get underway with the top 16. They're off the line though, are ready to go. Tomas Kiley to lead in Michael Megan.
Yeah, Kiley to lead in Megan over the big straight line entry there from Megan, and Megan goes off track quite dramatically.
Yeah, Megan on the grass, an absolute passenger there, throws it away as Tomas Kiley keeps in it.
Yeah, Kiley keeping the shoe in and drifts off into the sunset here. And Megan, all the damage done, gets the car back out on circuit and finishes the course, but too little too late unfortunately for him, and he's going to stumble back to the start line knowing that he's really up against it in the second half of this battle.
Yeah, I mean, initiation from Kiley was absolutely perfect, just carried a little bit too much speed there, did Michael Megan. So the scores drop in, and a 10-0, Eddie, like you say.
Yeah, 10-0 for 4 wheels off track, and Tomas Kiley, a little bit of a dark horse these days. You can never really be too sure what Tomas Kiley is going to show up. He knows that championship hope is gone, but he will want to maintain his second place finish.
So just getting word, Eddie, that right now in the pits is some serious action going on. James Dean is currently having clutch issues, and the guy helping him put the clutch in his car is Dennis Murphy, the guy who is going to battle for a place in the Grade 8. I mean, if that is not camaraderie, I don't know what is. Dennis Murphy is under James Dean's car, so James Dean can battle him later on.
Yeah. Dennis Murphy pretending to tighten a few bolts.
Dennis Murphy taking parts away. You don't need this prop shaft anymore.
It's okay, James, I got this.
Yeah, I've got Bye, mate. Wow, so we move it back to the start line where we see it Michael Megan now to lead in Tomas Kiley. Tomas Kiley with that 10-0 advantage. He's just going to have to keep his head on his shoulders right now and let Michael Megan lay down a good run and just keep a good, some nice proximity, but not too close to cause an error. They get the green light, it's good to go. It's Michael Megan to lead in Tomas Kiley for a spot in the top 16.
So here we go, Megan to lead in Tomas Kiley. Kiley with that advantage. Megan trying to pull out all the stops here on a good line in, but it just looks as though Kiley is so comfortable in the chase position, just doing enough to keep a steady proximity all the way around the circuit. Drops the wheel just as they transition back towards the end of the circuit, but the judges saying that the chase car okay to drop a wheel at that point on the circuit. Judges' scores do come in 5-5 across the board with the 10-0 on the first run. It does mean that Tomas Kiley takes the victory. He's going through to the top 16, and we have no reason to go to the judges there. The 10-0 on the first one, really clear cut.
Yeah, a 10-0, very, very hard to overturn. I mean, unless Tomas Kiley went 4 wheels off circuit or spun, no reason for a one more run. So we move it along, Eddie, to the last battle of our top 32, which we will see Nigel Culver leading Adrian Walsh. Adrian Walsh in that unbelievable sounding V8 A86. And, Nigel Culver coming off those wins in Europe, looking very, very strong.
Yeah, you just don't know what you're going to get with Nigel Culver, and could he take the top step? Could we see him in a final against James Dean?
We're about to find out. They get the green light, they're off the line.
Will it be Adrian Walsh to take it through? Here we go, Adrian Walsh is going to chase down Nigel Culver. And Culver opening up a little bit of a gap here, and Adrian washing a little bit wide, but takes that third clipping zone. Culver shallowing up. Culver's line not great here.
No, Culver very, very deep on Mobile 1. Looked like he was going to go off circuit for a minute there. As they come past us onto the wall, Adrian Walsh now going to need to try and get on the door. No proximity at the moment, but they make the dive around the final turn and take it across the line. Culver looked like that car was very unbalanced on initiation, kind of just about held on to it. Look at this, fires the car in. Adrian Walsh on a nice initiation, but then gets clipping point 2, but goes very, very deep on 3, and Culver's car just doesn't look as balanced. He fires it into 4 and almost falls off circuit.
Yeah, Walsh would have straightened then from 3 to 4 as well, so just not perfect from either driver, and judges just discussing the error count here. Both guys clearly ain't pushing just so hard trying to get the advantage.
Hey, listen, I mean, the lineup for top 16 is our lineup that you want to be in, and the scores drop in. And with a very, very small advantage going to Nigel Culver for the second half of this run, we go to the judges.
Yeah, I mean, Nigel had a good lead run. It wasn't perfect, but it was good enough to take a slight advantage from Adrian, just not really bringing much of a battle onto it. Adrian making the same kind of mistakes on the same line as Nigel, just not having any proximity until right at the end, which we can't really reward him for. So, small advantage for Nigel going to the next run.
So there we go. And now Nigel Culver in the position that he likes to be in. He likes to chase. He said he likes to be nice and close. He likes to follow. So you know what? Right now, Adrian Walsh, a very, very consistent driver, very fast. Culver's going to feel confident. I can imagine sitting behind Adrian Walsh as they go in.
Yeah, Walsh can lead them in. Culver to bring it up the rear. Who's going to take it through though to the top 16? One spot remains. Walsh, Culver. Culver with an error on entry there.
Yeah, huge separation as they transition into Mobile 1, but Adrian Walsh on a very, very strange line. Culver has to just dial out some angle there as Walsh now starts to fire that car onto the wall. Culver now starts to rein in the proximity as he pushes that 1JZ S13 on the door. They bring it across the line. Give it up, ladies and gentlemen, for Nigel Culver and Adrian Walsh. So judges just watching the replay of this one. You say he made an error on initiation.
It looked as though Nigel had a bit of a...
Just looked like he used the handbrake a lot to slow the car, and he scrubbed a lot of speed off, which gave Walsh a little bit of room there to pull away, and then fires that car into clipping point 4 on Mobile 1 and nearly over-rotates. Again, has to try and dial it back in again.
Yeah, maybe not an error on entry, but certainly just didn't look smooth and fluid through that point. Big wheel drop there from Adrian Walsh just on that final section. So, judges' scores are dropping in. Remember, Nigel Culver had the advantage from the first run. And and takes the advantage on the second run. Going through to the top 16 is Nigel Culver. Judges, talk us through it.
Yeah, so Nigel, decent chase there. He kept good proximity from the start. He gained in nice and close towards the end as well. Adrian not really putting on a good lead line to follow. He was off clip 4 and clip 5, and then he was putting two wheels over the line off of the clip 8 after clip 8 round the wall there. But Nigel bringing a good battle to him, ending at a 6-4 across the board for all of us.
So there you have it. Our top 16 has been decided in. We haven't had a proper chance to go through some of the battles, but we can look at them now. First up, if he can get his clutch fixed, it will be...
If Dennis Murphy can get his clutch fixed for him.
So if James Dean can get his mechanic, Dennis Murphy, to fix his clutch in time, then he will go up against Dennis Murphy. Brendan Stone will be up against Anthony Galvin. Jerome Vassia will be up against Mike Fitzgerald. McKeever versus Carney. Shanahan versus McBurney. O'Sullivan versus Ollie Evans. Matt Carter versus Martin Richards. Tomas Kiley and Nigel Culver. Important thing there for this, in terms of the streak, is that two English drivers, one of them will be going home, Carter or Richards, taking each other out, and that is our top 16. Some very interesting battles to look forward to there.
Yeah, Dave is now going to head out onto the circuit. We're going to get our top 16 drivers gridded up on the top of the circuit. They're going to come down. We're going to do a parade lap. So Dave will be down in front of the grandstand. He's going to just have a quick word with some of these drivers, show you the battles, tell you how they're feeling. We're going to be back in 10 minutes' time. So for you guys watching on the live feed, do not go anywhere. We're going to keep a static camera on the circuit, just feeding you some of the images here. So we're going to restart the Facebook feed. So if your Facebook feed goes down, it will be back up in 10 minutes' time. But for you guys here at Mondello Circuit, do not go too far away from your perfect viewing position. We'll be back in 10 minutes' time with your top 16 parade.